Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and I was over on YouTube the other day, and a guy I was listening to, goes by the name of Scott Garibay, was talking about a potential campaign story hook where the PCs are from a kingdom that has solved a problem that's an issue to multiple kingdoms, and it started off with the context of the COVID pandemic and how the U.S. has got all these vaccines and now we're donating a bunch of them to other countries. So the assumption is, okay, well, the PCs would be delivering something like potions of cure disease to other kingdoms for a plague. That's kind of the assumption I was getting. Well, sounds like a pretty standard campaign idea where your adventurers are doing traveling to deliver an item. In D&D, often the travel sequences are not very exciting, and that can be a challenge for a DM. So what do you do other than say, well, it's going to be 4 days to get there, and here's some random monster encounters? That's boring. You gotta step it up from there. And it's kind of ironic that travel sequences in D&D can be boring, or often are boring, when one of the most epic fantasy stories was simply a story of travel to a place and go deliver a thing. You may remember this one as two hobbits gotta go take a ring and drop it in a volcano. Seems easy. Wasn't. So you're gonna have to throw in some environmental hazards. Of course, the wandering monsters. Which brings me to, what do you do with wandering monsters? Random encounters. Well, if you make a random encounter table and then you roll on it during the gameplay, your party knows that those were just randomly generated and that's just something to deal with and carry on. They know, because you rolled on the table, that they're not tied to any part of the greater plot. Those were just random things, throwaway items, just to be a nuisance and to have a little random combat for XP and possibly whatever loot the monsters had on them. So if you're going to do random monster encounter tables, I think that's a good idea to write them up, because then you kind of can use the chart to determine what kind of things are common, uncommon, or rare in each area, climate. That's why I like making those kind of tables. But I think that you should roll on the table before the session and then edit accordingly. You know, if you get a result for something that's just not going to work out, you got to consider, okay, is this something they have to fight, talk to, or flee from? And the PCs have to always have at least two options. Nothing should be a forced mandatory fight. There should always be an option of either fleeing / stealthing around or talking to. Conversely, there can be some things that might be flee or talk to but not fight. Things that they simply won't engage with because there's some kind of physical barrier that cannot engage each other. I also think you should probably maybe spice up that travel by perhaps not just have a road from point A to point B. Have a number of maybe small towns in between where they have to stop and engage the residents in some way. Most likely they're going to want to spend the night in an inn and have some food and some rest. Especially if you say that camping in the elements possibly gives exhaustion because you don't get a good night's sleep. Perhaps the perhaps the NPCs could engage in some way. Maybe there are spies trying to steal the item that you are transporting. Maybe nobody knows about it, but maybe somebody wants to join your group and travel alongside. Do you trust them? Could they be a spy? Could they be a possible thief? The other option is, if you're transporting the goods from point A to point B, is there a Kingdom C that knows about it or not? Is your item maybe something different? So let's say we started off with there's a plague and you're transporting potions of cure disease. Maybe you're transporting seeds for the herbs to make the potions. Maybe it's not a plague at all. Maybe there's a different type of problem that's concerning all of the kingdoms. Maybe it's an opposing force, and you are transporting the weapons needed to defeat that enemy force, so that your ally kingdoms can defend themselves. So, what if we've turned things on in their head a little bit, and dwarves are no longer good guys? Dwarves are bad guys. You have human and elven kingdoms. Dwarves have retreated underground, and they're sending up animated suits of armor and iron golems to just pop up from random points in the ground, as tunnels have been found all over the kingdoms. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, your party is transporting a secret weapon. You have a chest, maybe some loops on the chest. You can run poles through them, and you're carrying it Ark of the Covenant style. Well, maybe there's a glass key where if you use the key in the lock, you can open the chest, but this is a fail-safe where one party member has to carry the key, and if the chest is going to be captured, you're supposed to run away and smash the key, shattering this glass key, and nobody can open the chest anymore. What is in the chest to defeat the animated armor and the iron golems, the metal constructs? Eggs. Eggs of a creature thought to be extinct in all of the lands. You get to the place, and it's the eggs of rust monsters. Just a thought. Just a thought. Maybe you're delivering that as a weapon to help your ally nations. Which begs the question, are all of the surface nations allies, or are there some that aren't allies? Did your liege send the weapons, the eggs of the rust monsters, to only one ally, or are there multiple groups of adventurers, each going to each of the kingdoms? Maybe, maybe not. But if your liege is only sending the weapon to a couple of kingdoms, and somebody found out, because there's always a spy somewhere, right? Then you have the possibility that you might encounter somebody from Kingdom C trying to steal your stuff. Or not. I don't know. That's just kind of a few ideas. Trying to take this one campaign seed and see what we can do with it. But I think what also comes into play is the question of, are you in a high magic, high fantasy setting, or perhaps more of a low magic setting? Because if you're in a high magic setting, the question is asked, well, why not just have the court mage just teleport the stuff over there and problem solved? This whole business can be eradicated in just seconds. You don't have to make this trip of several weeks. Because if you, I don't know if you've checked on the internet for this, but somebody took a map of the United States and a map of Middle Earth, and they tracked out just how far Frodo walked, and it was like the length of the Missouri River, just all the way up and then halfway back again. It was just ridiculous. So that's the problem. Powerful magic, high magic, makes medium and low problems just disappear and irrelevant. So that's why you want to consider maybe a low magic campaign is a better campaign, because you can actually deal with these sorts of problems and not just have them hand waved away with, okay, well, some dude cast a spell, issue ended, problem solved. I don't know. That's kind of why I prefer some of the lower magic settings, is because you can have these stories play out without the pop, done. Oh well. Just a few things to think about. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas about any of this. DM Kurt, out.